My name is Lynn Lavery, and I'm the director here at Academic Consulting. I suspect I've probably met a number of you at either the In Vivo or SPSS training courses that I run. Excel isn't something that I normally teach, but I was particularly keen to offer this session this year, and I'll explain why shortly. I use Excel a lot myself in relation to both SPSS and In Vivo. Excel's a really good starting place for both of those packages. And I must admit, I haven't really kept myself up to date through the more recent versions of Excel. So I went on a bit of a hunt for some tutorials recently and was quite surprised to discover that pretty much anything that you can access resource-wise or tutorial-wise for Microsoft Excel is based on financial data, which makes sense. Certainly Excel is used a lot in financial contexts. But for me as a researcher, I kind of wanted to upskill myself with something that was more relevant to my context, i.e. research. So given how difficult it was to find that sort of resource, once I upskilled myself, thought it might be a nice idea for me to share what I've learnt with other researchers. So today is very much based on research data. We won't be going into budget projections and monthly sales figures and the like. I've got some questionnaire data that we'll be working with, and I'll be specifically focusing on features of Microsoft Excel that I think will be helpful to research. Now, in terms of what I'll be covering, just bringing up a session overview slide at the moment. Now, in terms of the content, we will be going through quite quickly. My aim is really to just introduce you to some of the possibilities and help you to know what you don't know. So I think with software like Excel, we're often self-taught and we're not sure about what else is in there that we don't know about. So that's really my intention today, to show some of the features in Excel relevant to research that you perhaps might not be aware of. Now, some of the topics I'm covering today are quite big topics in themselves. So charts and pivot tables, for example, I could spend 2 hours just talking about those. So do keep that in mind as we go through. Some of the topics, it is just going to be a very brief introduction. Now, some of the techniques and features that I talk about today may well be known to you, so feel free to multitask while I present those. I am pretty sure that there will be something new today for everyone. And it was interesting, actually, my colleague Andrew, who's very much an Excel whiz, was proofreading my handout for today. And I could hear him mumbling in the corner, "Gosh, didn't know it did that." So I thought that was a pretty good sign that even someone who was an Excel whiz was learning a few things from today's content. So in terms of what we'll be working through, sort of working through the research process really. So starting out with some data entry tips, talking about some data cleaning tips if you already have your data entered into Excel. And then we'll move through to analysis and data manipulation. And as part of that section, we'll be talking about formulas and also pivot tables, as well as a few other things. I will then touch very briefly on Excel charts, how to generate them, how to make some basic edits. And I've then got a section towards the end on just general useful features. My biggest one there will be macros. So macros are a massive time saver in Excel. I think a lot of people are scared of them. They perceive that they're quite complex, but they can be done in a very simple and effective way. And lastly, I'm going to talk about how you can use Excel for qualitative data analysis. Now, very interesting when I got our training brochure proofread. The person proofreading it picked up that I had said we'd be covering Excel for qualitative data analysis, and they were positive that I must have had a typo. But it's not a typo. Excel can be used quite effectively for analysing perhaps simple qualitative data. Certainly not as powerful as something like In Vivo, but if you have a smallish data set and you're quite comfortable and confident using Excel, perhaps isn't always worth the effort to learn something specialised like NVivo. So that will be the last thing I'll cover off today, and that will sort of incorporate a lot of the features that I'll be presenting through the first parts of today's session. So without further ado, let's jump across to Excel. So as I say, I'm pretty sure no one is planning to follow along with me by the looks of it, but just in case anyone is, the data file that I sent out this morning, you'll need to have that open, and you'll need to be in the data entry worksheet. So on the bottom left corner, there's a whole pile of tabs showing, and the one that you want to be on is the data entry worksheet.